Welcome to Mystery Shack Look Back, a nostalgic time capsule and no-spoiler book club of the original Gravity Falls fandom. We are your curators. I'm Charlie.
I'm Ella.
For you, the day our podcast graced your feed was the most important day of your life.
Yes, but for us, it was Wednesday.
It was Tuesday at midnight, I like to say.
That's true.
And we just watched the Street Fighter movie together yesterday.
Oh, you were just quoting Raúl Julia's portrayal of M. Bison in the Street Fighter movie, which, for context, he also played Gomez Addams in the
Addams Family and the Addams Family Values, yeah.
Yeah.
For you, the day Bison graced your village was the most important day of your life. But for me, it was Tuesday.
Raúl Julia in that film might be the best acting performance I've ever seen in my entire life. If not, definitely top 20.
And most actors aren't dying.
Yeah, he was dying of stomach cancer when he shot that movie, seemingly died right after they wrapped production, and they started production right after he finished chemotherapy. So there's no reason for his if his performance wasn't good, we'd be like, well, that makes sense. And then, along with the best acting performance I've ever seen, I can't say worst. I will say there was the worst by an adult with an extensive acting resume in a high-budget Hollywood film.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Because I've seen children act worse than Jean-Claude Van Damme in that film.
Oh, yes, I can. Just take the hostages out. If I'm not topside in 15 minutes, evacuate without me.
Yes, because, no, it was your standard middle school play acting.
Come out from behind the curtain, wizard.
Yes, but this is an established actor.
He had challenged himself to do $10,000 worth of cocaine every week during the production of this film.
And to his credit, he clearly did.
He clearly did. I think the proof is in the pudding. The pudding is what I call his face when it's covered in all that cocaine sweat.
Yes.
We can all go home. We can all go home. We can all go home. I'm not going home.
So watch the Street Fighter movie. That's really all I had to say about that.
And that's it for today's episode of the Street Fighter movie Look Back.
Wait. No, Ella. I think we usually talk about Gravity Falls on these.
You're right. I guess since we talked about the Street Fighter movie, we might as well talk about Fight Fighters.
Oh, Fight Fighters? The 10th episode of the first season of Gravity Falls, which was directed by John Aoshima, written by Zach Baez and Alex Hirsch. It premiered on September 14th, 2012.
That's right, on Disney Channel.
Whoa! The Disney Channel?
I know, right?
All right, we should not lollygag anymore because oh boy, do I have a story, which you will hear after the promo. Or, if you're going to pause the promo to watch the episode, then in about 22 minutes.
Hey, Charlie, do you think that we're going to talk about Street Fighter, the movie, a lot in this episode?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Of course! You can't even see me, but I turned away from the microphone.
Yes.
Friday. Dipper will face his biggest fear.
You, me, Circle Park, 3 o'clock. What was I thinking? I can't fight. Look at these noodle arms.
Before this fight can begin.
I thought you'd chicken out. Just call this thing off before someone gets hurt.
Dipper.
The smart money's on skinny jeans.
You'll take that back. Must uncover.
To unleash ultimate power?
Another secret in Gravity Falls.
What the? High five! Ow, your pixels are really sharp.
All new, Friday at 9:30, 8:30 Central on Disney Channel.
We just watched Fight Fighters.
All right, we jumping into this?
Let's jump into this.
I have previously stated that the reason Miles and I watched a bunch of episodes together is because I had purchased them on Amazon Prime. I have waited until this moment to tell all of you listeners why I originally purchased the series up until that point on Amazon Prime.
Lore drop.
Ella, this is gonna get a little bit depressing. I hope that's all right with you.
Buckle up, everybody.
In 2011, I dropped out of college around the same time that my parents divorced, and I dropped antidepressants cold turkey. So I was not feeling great. This was, in the entire history of the website, the online animated flash cartoon, Homestar Runner, the first ever year that they had no updates. Up until that point, if I was not feeling great, Homestar Runner updated every week. Until 2009. But they still had a Decemberween holiday special in 2010. But luckily for me, at the time, Homestar Runner creator Matt Chapman had moved to Los Angeles to work in television and had been updating his Twitter. So I kept a watch on that Twitter like a hawk, Ella.
To find out whatever the next thing he was working on would be.
Exactly. He no longer has a Twitter. He has a Twitter that he posts in character as Strong Bad, a character from Homestar Runner. But at the time, he had a Twitter, at Ronginald. And the most fascinating thing I saw on that Twitter was Joshua Pruitt, a storyboarder on Phineas and Ferb, at Zombie TARDIS on Twitter, had tweeted at Matt.
Were you at Disney TV yesterday? Someone left a signed Homestar sticker on my car to go with my Strong Bad one. If no, there are Homestar Angels.
And Matt responded,
"'Twas me, working on Gravity Falls. Seeing your faded vinyl cling made my morning. Had some Homestar Runner clings in glove box. Ding!"
So I went straight to IMDb and went to Matt Chapman's page and looked for Gravity Falls. And at the time, I don't know when this was, clearly sometime in 2012, probably September, there was only one credit for Matt Chapman in Gravity Falls, which said he voiced video game announcer in the episode Fight Fighters. I took to YouTube and looked up Fight Fighters Gravity Falls to see if I could find any clips of him. And the one clip I did find...
Now I must defeat the world's greatest fight fighters! Take me to the Soviet Union!
That's gonna be tough, for a number of reasons. But I do know a fighter here in Gravity Falls.
Maximum power?
His name is Robbie V, and he's kind of like my archenemy.
Did he kill your father?
Well, he's dating the girl I like, and he posts a really annoying amount of status updates.
And then he killed your father.
Sure.
That clip alone, A, is really funny. There's some good jokes in there. B, does not contain any video game announcer. So what did I do? I went to Amazon and bought not just that episode, but every episode up until that point. And that's why I watched Gravity Falls. I admittedly have not seen this episode in a bit, but it holds such a significant importance to me because I make the majority of my income off of YouTube now, and the majority of that ad revenue is from Gravity Falls videos. In fact, Ella, the first time you and I met, you told me you were cosplaying Grunkle Stan, so I cosplayed Strong Bad, thinking that constituted a cohesive cosplay group.
And you know what? It did.
And we're gonna talk about Matt Chapman more in later episodes, because he's frankly barely in this one.
Yeah, he definitely gets a lot more personally involved with the show as we go. But like Alex Hirsch is a huge Homestar Runner fan as well. So having Matt Chapman on the show was a really big deal.
It was. And I'll just spoil this much. Matt gets involved in the writer's room. So not only does he have a few episodes to his name after this, but is in the general brainstorming sessions for every episode.
Yeah.
So he voices the announcer, supposed to resemble the announcers in, well, Street Fighter is primarily what this episode is parodying.
Super power, ninja, turbo, neo, ultra, hyper, mega, multi, alpha, beta, extra, uber, prefix, combo!
There's some Mortal Kombat. And a whole bunch of mishmash of video game references in there.
Congratulations! You win!
Video game references were certainly in cartoons at this point, but not to any level of accuracy.
I think they hadn't been written by people who fully grew up with video games yet, just generationally. because now we at this point we were just getting to the time where like children of the 80s were writing cartoons and making cartoons for television.
90s is Street Fighter.
Yeah, but you get what I mean. Children born in the 80s.
Yeah. So one that's been on my mind recently is in the opening of Toy Story 2, they are using, I don't remember, I think it's a Super Nintendo controller.
It's a Super Nintendo,
well,
yeah.
no, it isn't, Ella.
Or it's a Super Nintendo controller plugged into, like...
a Super Famicom, which is the same system hardware-wise, but the controllers are not interchangeable. The Super Famicom Family Computer is the Japanese version of the Super Nintendo. Yeah, you can't mix and match controllers for those. That's a different port. And the game is in full 3D.
Yeah, it would not look that good.
There are a lot of video game references in Fairly Odd Parents, but they're either incredibly surface level, like the episode about them playing the VR game, or references to things from like the early 80s or late 70s. Like there's one where there's a gorilla throwing barrels down and someone jumping over them, which is also in this episode.
But that's like all you would get up until like the 2010s.
All you would get until basically this year, 2012. Because 3 months after this episode aired, Disney also released a film called Wreck-It Ralph, which had been in development hell since the 80s.
Yep.
And I really think it took the gaming generation growing up for that movie to be worth making.
Yeah, because now you've got specific references and jokes that are like... not even well-researched, just well-experienced, just based on the lived experience of people who grew up with video games as, like, a household fixture.
It is worth noting what is often credited with being the first Hollywood media that gets video game references correct is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, 2 years prior to this. They actually hired Paul Robertson, the pixel artist that did all of the sprites from Scott Pilgrim, to animate Rumble and then all the scenes of video games in this episode. And Alex has described that as a very difficult process because, basically they had a fully animated cartoon that they had to insert his separate animations into.
Yeah.
Mixed media is hard.
We get a few full shots of, like, the screen of the video game, which I imagine was... a little easier, because you're not mixing the media in those shots, but...
Yeah, that's not mixed media, it's just all Paul Robertson. And as well as Brad Breek is really good at chiptunes. He's used them a little bit prior to this. He really likes some bleepity bloop sound fonts for his music.
Really get to just go wild with those bleeps and bloops in this episode.
But we were talking about the Street Fighter movie. The Street Fighter movie came out in 1994. A lot of video game movies came out in 1994. That's also when the Mortal Kombat movie and Double Dragon came out. And that's because in 1993, the Mario movie came out, which was critically panned. And once Jurassic Park came out a week later, people stopped watching the admittedly worst dinosaur film. In spite of that, it made Nintendo way more money than a video game does. And there's this issue during the productions of all of those films, as well as the TV shows you would get from Deke and other Canadian companies, where they don't really understand the game at all. There's a lot of stories of Super Mario Bros. Super Show where they just have to... they're struggling to find a way to make these characters interesting enough to them to write. So you get episodes where he's Lone Ranger because they have to go off of their childhood.
Yeah, so not only, like, writing about video game culture in cartoons, but also just writing adaptation of video games, you get this, like, generational, unfamiliar attitude toward the games themselves. It's like night and day when you compare the old stuff to stuff post 2012, and even further, you've got, like, I was thinking earlier, like, Steven Universe in his house, he has a Nintendo 64 sometimes and a GameCube other times. But yeah, like, not like a mishmash of things, but a direct something lifted from the childhoods of the creators and the artists.
Ella, so yesterday we played Final Fight.
Yeah!
This episode contains a lot of references to Final Fight. The litter on the ground that Rumble picks up or finds in an oil drum. The little screen that says go and allows them to continue walking.
Yeah, a little flashing arrow.
So Final Fight is a beat 'em up that takes place in the Street Fighter fighting game universe. So mincing those references actually displays a really good understanding of the Street Fighter franchise. So the bonus level where you beat up a car is in both Final Fight and Street Fighter, but the "oh, my car" is from the Super Nintendo version of Final Fight as a censorship of "oh my god."
Yeah, there's a lot of jokes where, like, we were kind of thinking maybe they thought this was a reference to one game when it's actually in technically a different one.
So in the commentary, Alex points to Streets of Rage for those references instead of Final Fight. Yesterday, I explained to you that video game genres exist because people keep ripping off each other until...
Yeah, until you form a little subculture.
When Final Fight did well, Sega, to cash in on it, made Streets of Rage, which... the second one is generally considered better than the other Final Fight.
It's just a genre with you know, titles with fight or street in the name, sometimes at the same time.
However, we can't even accuse Streets of Rage of ripping off Final Fight because Final Fight was made into a beat 'em up because Double Dragon was popular. Ella, you do not know how specific the references in this episode can get. I've shown you some of the things it references yesterday. Ella, how does Dipper evade Rumble McSkirmish?
Oh yeah, well, okay, so in the scene where Rumble McSkirmish turns on Dipper and Dipper has to escape, he climbs up a tree, which defeats Rumble temporarily because he doesn't have a looking up animation.
Ella, will you click the video I have linked to you?
Love where this is going. Oh, okay. There he goes.
That is a very, very specific reference to a glitch that people use to make a boss battle in Double Dragon easier.
Fascinating.
Ella, do you want to explain what you just saw?
Yeah, well, it's similar to what happens in the episode. The player character has traveled up a ladder off to the side, and the enemy characters can't find them.
So that was not intended in the game. But it is a strategy a lot of people use because it's an unforgivingly hard game. This is not just references to things that are supposed to be in the game. This is a reference to the culture around them.
Yeah, which is, like, fascinating to me because, as we have said, it was such a shift in what we were seeing.
And the shift was over the course of the 2 years between Scott Pilgrim and this. And now... we feel we're in a world where when we see a reference to a video game, we're like, oh yeah, okay, cool.
Right, like, yeah, now, like, Ready Player One is exhausting to us. So that's very interesting nuance of it to me, that it feels played out over, like, not even barely a decade. It already feels played out to us.
That really puts the time capsule in Nostalgic Time Capsule and No Spoiler Book Club.
Mm-hmm, because even, like, you know, without this context, and even sometimes, like, my gut reaction to a lot of the video game jokes, even in this, is like, oh, yeah, okay, I got it. But at the time, you know, it was a bigger deal. I think we need to understand that.
What I want to say is the little whips of hair at the back of Mabel's head are based on what Mario looks like when his hat comes off.
Yeah.
And Dipper's outfit is largely based on Ash Ketchum's, the protagonist of the anime adaptation of Pokemon, or Satoshi as he's known in Japan. So, like, the main two characters have Nintendo references in their core design.
Yep.
All right, there was my 40-minute rant.
All right. As for the actual story of the episode, outside of being a love letter to video games, it's mostly about Dipper getting challenged to a fight by Robbie, Wendy's new boyfriend as of the previous episode. And I don't really have anything to say about that. I've never been challenged to a physical fight.
Well, I've been hit by kids. I've said something to a kid that upset him and then he hit me. That is an experience I had in school. I can't imagine a situation where you still feel that anger after the last bell rings.
Yeah, that's a lot of emotional retention and memory to, like, expect out of a child or teenager. Because if somebody challenges you to a fight at 3 o'clock, by 3 o'clock they're like, what? Oh, no, I'm onto something else now. I'm a child.
But, I mean, again, it is how a Gravity Falls episode is formed is you write down a bunch of things that happened to you when you were younger or are tropes of middle school or elementary school stories.
And then find a weird supernatural thing to marry that to. Yeah.
Yeah, write down a bunch of mysteries and monsters you want to see. So clearly what happened here is they're like, when someone challenges you to a fight, it's definitely a more important thing in media than it is in real life. It is what the pilot of Hey Arnold is about.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was thinking maybe it was a gender thing, but I think it's honestly just, it's not a thing even for, boys who are boys.
I think it's probably a pre-80s thing, because it also means that you are in charge of your time after school is over. And you are basically in a situation where you are allowed to take yourself home.
Yeah.
So this had to have been pre-Stranger Danger, because, like, if I didn't get on the bus home...
No, yeah, that's right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, like, I could, but that's the bus. How would I get home?
I did not have the option to not get on the bus. That was not a scenario for me.
Like, okay, so you're challenging me to a fight. Like, could your dad come and get us after or something? Like, can I carpool with you? Like, after you beat me up?
Well, that is what happened to Jason Ritter, who voiced Dipper. That a kid.
Oh, that's right.
A kid challenged him to a fight, so he tried to avoid the kid, but they were in the same carpool.
Yeah, which is so Jason Ritter, and very Dipper. Even
if it's not something we recognize as real, and probably again hasn't been real since pre-Stranger Danger, It fits the characters, and that's what's more important than anything. Oh,
definitely. Yeah.
Is that...
Robbie is completely unlikable in this episode, more so than his prior two appearances. I was kind of surprised how quickly that escalated into just a complete jerk.
Yeah, Robbie is very insecure and angry, and Dipper wants to prove his manliness, so he doesn't like the idea of backing out of a fight because he doesn't think that's what a man is supposed to do.
Because he forgot the lesson that he learned 4 episodes ago.
So Alex in the commentary says, "Wouldn't it be great if Link could fight your battles for you? That's something that every child thinks." And yes, I have thought that. I have thought, man, if Link was here, whew! This episode was written by Zach Baez and Alex Hirsch. Zach Baez had a spec script for Gravity Falls that contained the line,
Studies show that keeping a ladder inside the house is more dangerous than a loaded gun. That's why I own 10 guns, in case some maniac tries to sneak in a ladder.
1, I understand why that line got Zach Baez hired. 2, I have heard the story that Zach Baez was also a community writer, and at one point got yelled at by Chevy Chase for laughing at his own jokes. And seeing the way he structures jokes, go for it, dude.
Also, Chevy Chase pointing out that somebody
finds themselves funny too much? Yeah.
Chevy Chase, why don't you move out of that glass house and then throw a stone at Zach Baez?
Chevy Chase, I couldn't help but notice that you and Zach Baez's kitchenware are often in the same color.
It's true. Why are you pointing out the color of Zach Baez's kitchenware when you, too,
own black kitchenware?
Yeah. As great as that joke is, I think my favorite joke of the episode is when Dipper talks to Seuss about the fight that he's been challenged to. Seuss, we gotta play the clip.
My cousin Reggie got in a fight with a teen once. The guy broke, all his arms, all his legs, and I think killed him or something. I don't know. Me and Reggie were just talking about it.
And I also love the phrasing of not both his arms and both his legs, all his arms and all his legs.
And he can't remember if Reggie died, but he remembers talking to Reggie about it recently. Brian Bloom, who voices Rumble McSkirmish, who voices the heck out of Rumble McSkirmish.
I adore every line. The fact that Mabel specifically writes down words for him to say in his wonderful voice is, not even an exaggeration. I want to do that.
Effervescent, apple fritter, riboflavin.
Brian Bloom is primarily a video game voice actor, which I think is why he was able to deliver what they wanted so well for this episode. He voices Steve Rogers / Captain America in almost every Marvel game.
For freedom! Stars and Stripes! Victory!
And you know, there was a fighting game called Marvel vs. Capcom.
Which makes a lot of sense considering the characters that Rumble McSkirmish is taken from.
Ryu! Chun-Li! My shield versus your martial arts? Let's find out which one is stronger.
He's mostly Ryu, but he's got Ken's hair color and nationality, and Sagat's eye patch.
I guess you didn't see that, did you?
Is he not Guile at all?
No, Guile's hair is on Dr. Karate, I was looking at.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, look, Dr. Karate is mostly M. Bison, but he has Guile's hair.
But yeah, for like less than a second, we see the rest of the Fight Fighters roster, and there are some very good character names.
There is Jessica, who is just Chun-Li.
And my favorite being N. Buffalo.
I love that there are two M. Bison parodies.
He's that good, is the thing.
Yeah, because it's a weird name, and also it's a weird character, because he did kill a lot of the characters' fathers.
In his defense, for him...
But for me...
It was just Tuesday.
It was Tuesday.
Bison wakes up, checks his calendar, Tuesday, gotta kill someone's dad. Tuesdays. Yeah, so there's Sarbarian, who is referencing Zangief in that he is the Russian character. However, he is just a drawing of Ivan Drago from Rocky IV in the exact same pose. It's almost traced, which gives us 2 episodes in a row in which Dolph Lundgren is haphazardly placed into a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie.
Oh, yeah.
I love also that the names Jessica and the name Sassika come from the same episode.
Right, because we get another Gravity Falls TV show parody, which has a pretty good story behind it.
Yeah, so why you acting so cray-cray? I feel uncomfortable saying the name, but that's what it...
It's an uncomfortable joke a little bit.
But the joke was that Alex, as we've been very clear about, and he's been very clear about, does not like the Disney Channel. And so to make fun of it when people would ask where his office was, he would describe its location in Disney TVA by making up names of TV shows. And he would say, yeah, it's right by, you know where the office for Turtle with a Live Journal is? Yeah, if you go down the hall from there, we're right next to Why You Acting So Cray Cray. And try to see if people notice that these weren't real Disney properties.
Yeah, he would just slip in a completely fake one and see if anyone catches it. Because they're not that far off. You know what? I think if you look up above your head there, Charlie, you see that bar accompanied by those numbers.
Oh, is that my points?
Yeah, and I think we've racked up enough points to go to our
bonus level.
Yeah.
where we get to beat the out of the Hall of Conspiracies.
Oh, my hall. Ladies and gentlemen, right this way to the Hall of Conspiracy.
So our first conspiracy today comes from gravityfallsconspiracies.tumblr.com, a submission that asks, what if Robbie isn't a zombie? You'll remember that many were theorizing after the inconveniencing that Robbie, for his pale skin and bad attitude, was a zombie. But here we're suggesting he might actually be a necromancer trying to raise zombies, which would explain all the undead imagery associated with him, despite Robbie seeming fairly normal for a teen, because he puts up some posters for his band in this episode called Robbie V and the Tombstones. Their slogan, apparently, is "You're Dead."
I think that's the album name.
Oh, okay. That's
the album "You're Dead" by...
We'll workshop it, Robbie. Which works great for a thematic representation of Dipper's anxiety. Weird thing for...
I don't think so, given Robbie's general aesthetic.
Yeah, and that aesthetic is kind of why they're thinking maybe he is related to zombies without being a zombie himself.
Oh yeah, because on his sweatshirt there is a heart that is sewn together, so it is...
Yeah, definitely necromancy-y.
Also on Gravity Falls Conspiracies, Wiki Tiki... I think literally my favorite part of the show is just reading old usernames.
I love it.
Writes, 1, Is that like Robbie V? Like his last name starts with a V? Or Robbie the Fifth? Or probably Robbie V. Robbie the Fifth isn't very punk rock. Actually, it's probably Robbie the Fifth, because Robbie doesn't know how to punk rock. Robbie, we need to talk about your eyeliner. Also your nails.
Yeah, he does wear eyeliner, but his nail is very clearly chipped, so he's got some of the grooming, not all the grooming.
Is that the name of his band? Robbie, I'm... Also, ¿qué es esto? What?
It's just
Wiki-tiki, I love you.
It's just
listening.
A list of observations, I guess. Gravity Falls Conspiracies reblogs with, I think it's pronounced Robbie 5. Maybe it's a reference to Rocky 5?
Yeah. Just put a reference to Rocky 4 and Rocky 5 in the same episode.
Well, what I thought, I don't know where I read that. I really tried to find it, but it's a great theory that it's not Robbie V, the letter. It is Robbie V, the numeral, Robbie 5, but that he is a zombie or, Frankenstein creature, and he is the fifth in a series of creatures, which I love.
We talked about it a little in Tourist Trap. Alexa noted that she saw...
Is this the Illuminati with a top hat?
Yeah, so the Eye of Providence is in his best Mr. Peanut cosplay. It's one of the very first things we see in this episode is someone is...
Yeah, it's like the second shot of the whole episode.
There's an establishing shot, and then we see Seuss welcoming everyone to the arcade. And there is a redneck playing a game that all it is a non-moving picture of an Illuminati with a top hat.
Yes, and a little bow tie. So there's first the Redditor that noticed this in episode 10, Fight Fighters, u/silly yatao. I love this. And a separate Reddit thread talking about how this symbol has been around for a while and has not been given a name, posted by Worked229.
In the theme song, the very last frame is a journal page containing this symbol.
Right, which we also had Alexa talk about.
It's also on the window at the Mystery Shack and has been periodically showing up here and there sometimes. And here are some proposed names for it.
We've got Rick.
Lincoln's All-Seeing Eye, a.k.a. Lays. Lincoln because of the stovepipe hat.
Pyramid Guy.
Dapper Pyramid.
Ivan, like Ivan.
But with EYE, like an I.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Pyramid. That one was probably the most common at the time.
Probably. Illuminati, which I love.
Pyramid Man. That one came up a lot, too.
Marvin.
Mr. Pyramid Head. That's...
not that far
Pyramid Head is an enemy from Silent Hill. That's not gonna work.
Oh, okay. We also got Mr. Illuminati.
The All-Seeing Pyramid.
And my personal favorite, and I believe Charlie's as well.
Oh, yeah. I had no idea that this symbol had this nickname until we were planning the podcast.
I'm not sure if this is the official source, but Work229 was thinking something like ACE, for all seeing eye.
And we have that symbol as an emoji in our Discord server, and we've named it All Seeing Eye.
It's the best one, I'm gonna say.
Yep. During the moment in which Stan is saying the weird ladder line, he is wearing his sleeveless undershirt that he sometimes wears. However, this is the first real close-up of that, and we could see that he seems to have a tattoo on his arm.
Yeah, right on the back of his shoulder. And people had definitely noticed before, but I think the discussion thread on Reddit for this episode has more speculation than I had seen before. We've got Luke Co. pointing out, anyone else notice Stan's tattoo again when he's reaching in the high cabinet? To which Spokes the Brony replies, hey, I'm not crazy, I saw it too. Maybe if we keep getting glimpses of it, we can assemble it together. And then another deleted user replies that it kind of looks like a compass.
Ooh.
Yeah, we're only getting glimpses of it because it is mostly covered by his shirt.
Okay. Wait, Did we read Marvin?
Yes.
I didn't think about that one. I was just thinking about Pyramid Head not being an option.
I don't get it either.
I love it.
It's a nice one.
I also love that all of these are supposing he is a person because, like...
And supposing that he is male.
Yeah, so the Eye of Providence, no one's like, oh, the all-seeing eye? Yeah, I know that guy. Like, no one describes it as if it's a person. You throw on clothing and all of a sudden it's humanized, I guess.
Well, no, maybe they're doing Frosty rules.
Okay, yes! There must have been some magic in that old silk cap they found.
Right.
For when they put it on his head, he began to dance around.
Messy, messy, messy.
That movie's good.
It's a good movie.
The cryptogram in this episode says, sorry, Dipper, but your Wendy is in another castle, which is a reference to what Toad says in the 4th level of the first 7 worlds of Super Mario Bros. For the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Yeah. Well, thanks for playing this video game podcast with us.
Congratulations. You are a great player. You're dead. Wait, is your dad a video game reference, or am I going nuts?
Both?
In the Friday the 13th game, instead of saying game over, it says, you're dead. If you want to find more episodes of this podcast, go to our host network, pipedreampodcasts.com, where you can find other shows like Escape from Walt Disney, How Did This Not Get Made, and Come On, Fahookwapods.
While you're there, you can find links.
Wait. I think what you mean is...
Send link.
You get it!
I got that, yep. You can also contact us at mysteryshacklookback@gmail.com if you've got any well-archived experiences in the Gravity Falls fandom, or old theories, or, games.
Some gross old chips you found.
Mm-hmm. Chip-hackers.
Thanks to Brian for voicing Stan in the Hall of Conspiracies intro. Thank you to Doggins for voicing Joshua Pruitt's tweet, and Michael William Hunter for voicing Matt Chapman's. Thanks to Simon the Dimbulb V2-0 for making our intro song today, and the instrumental of the Hall of Conspiracies intro. Ooh, that was a good intro song.
That was a good intro song.
Can we play a little bit? Can we play it again? Can we get a go again?
All right, well, you got to put in 40 more quarters.
Ka-chink, 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 ka-chink.
So I am going to, in lieu of a ukulele, pick up this Guitar Hero guitar and some Donkey Kong bongos and play us out today.
Donkey Konga bongos.
Yes.